Imagine an ocean glittering with gold-laden ships, where every horizon hides danger, and every island could be a pirate's lair. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the Caribbean was more than a tropical paradise. It was the richest trade route on Earth, a crossroads where European empires battled for treasure and dominance. Spanish galleons carried silver from Mexico and Peru. French corsairs hunted them for plunder, and English privateers turned piracy into an unofficial weapon of war. The struggle for these fortunes created a maritime battleground that shaped the modern world and gave birth to the legends of the Golden Age of Piracy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. The story begins in the early 1500s when Spain discovered immense wealth in the New World. Silver from the mines of Potosi in present-day Bolivia and Zacatecas in Mexico, along with gold, sugar, and precious dyes, flowed across the Atlantic to Seville. To move this cargo, Spain organized massive treasure fleets known as the Flota de Indias. Twice a year, heavily armed convoys of galleons and merchant vessels gathered in Havana before crossing the Atlantic. Each ship carried millions of pesos in bullion, an irresistible target for rivals and outlaws. Other European powers envied Spain's monopoly. England, France, and the Netherlands lacked the early foothold in the Americas, but quickly recognized that striking at Spanish shipping offered a shortcut to wealth. By the late 16th century, the Caribbean had become a theater of constant raiding. English privateers like Francis Drake and John Hawkins, operating with the tacit approval of Queen Elizabeth I, attacked Spanish ports and treasure fleets under the guise of privateering licenses. In 1588, Drake's exploits against Spanish shipping helped weaken the mighty Spanish Armada, proving that even the richest empire could be bled by agile sea raiders. The 17th century saw the rise of the buccaneers, a motley mix of runaway sailors, escaped slaves, and adventurers who made the Caribbean their hunting ground. Many were based in Tortuga, Jamaica, and other semi-lawless havens, where colonial governors turned a blind eye as long as profits flowed. The French produced notorious figures like Jean-David Nau, known as l'Olonnais, whose brutality struck fear across the Spanish Main. English captains such as Henry Morgan organized large-scale assaults, famously sacking Panama in 1671 with a fleet of ships and thousands of men. Though technically operating as privateers during wartime, these buccaneers often ignored treaties and attacked whenever opportunity beckoned. Imperial politics shaped every engagement. Wars in Europe spilled into the Caribbean, where colonial governors armed privateers to harass enemy trade. The Anglo-Spanish War, the Franco-Spanish conflicts, and the wars of the Dutch Republic all played out on Caribbean waters. Fortified ports like San Juan, Cartagena de Indias, and Havana became prize targets. Sea battles ranged from quick hit-and-run raids to major confrontations involving dozens of ships armed with heavy cannon. The line between pirate and patriot blurred. Yesterday's outlaw could become tomorrow's naval hero if his plunder enriched the right crown. One of the most dramatic episodes occurred in 1628, when Dutch Admiral Piet Hein captured the Spanish treasure fleet off Cuba. Using superior intelligence and cunning tactics, Hein intercepted the convoy and seized silver worth over 11 million guilders, a staggering sum that funded the Dutch war effort against Spain. His victory proved that even the best defended fleets were vulnerable and inspired generations of privateers to seek similar jackpots. The riches at stake were almost unimaginable. A single annual treasure fleet could carry more silver than existed in all of Europe before the conquest of the Americas. Coins minted from this metal became the first truly global currency, used from China to Istanbul. Spanish pieces of 8 circulated so widely that they influenced the design of the American dollar centuries later. Protecting this wealth required innovation, heavily armed escort ships, convoy tactics, and fortified harbors. Yet storms, navigational errors, and sheer greed ensured a steady supply of shipwrecks and captured galleons for treasure hunters and pirates. By the early 18th century, the balance of power began to shift. England and France established permanent colonies and powerful navies, reducing Spain's dominance. The end of major European wars left many privateers unemployed, and thousands turned to outright piracy. This period, roughly 1715 to 1725, became the celebrated Golden Age of Piracy. Figures like Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, and Calico Jack Rackham terrorized shipping lanes using swift sloops and democratic crews to outmaneuver larger naval vessels. Their republics of outlaws, Nassau and the Bahamas being the most famous, challenged imperial authority and created a unique maritime culture of codes, flags, and fearsome reputations. Naval technology and imperial resolve eventually ended the pirates' reign. Britain, eager to protect its growing trade networks, launched a relentless anti-piracy campaign. Naval patrols hunted famous captains, offering pardons to those who surrendered and no mercy to those who resisted. Blackbeard was killed in a bloody battle off North Carolina in 1718. Charles Vane was captured and hanged, and hundreds of lesser-known pirates faced the gallows in Jamaica and London. By the mid-1720s, organized piracy in the Caribbean had been largely crushed, though smuggling and privateering continued whenever war flared in Europe. Yet the sea battles of this era left lasting legacies. Economically, the relentless flow of New World silver fueled the rise of global trade and early capitalism. Politically, the conflicts weakened Spain and allowed Britain and France to build vast colonial empires. Culturally, the exploits of pirates and privateers inspired a rich mythology. Treasure maps, buried gold, the Jolly Roger, that continues to capture imaginations centuries later. Even today, shipwrecks from this period yield coins, ingots, and artifacts, reminding us that the Caribbean's waters still conceal fortunes won and lost in those turbulent times. Archaeology continues to reveal new details of this maritime struggle. The wreck of the Nuestra Señora de Atocha, a Spanish galleon sunk by a hurricane in 1622, was discovered in 1985 off the Florida Keys with cargo worth hundreds of millions of dollars in silver, gold, and emeralds. Salvage operations on reefs near the Bahamas and Dominican Republic regularly uncover cannons, jewelry, and coins from battles long forgotten. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of how empires fought, traded, and stole across the Caribbean. The story of the Caribbean treasure wars is not just one of greed and violence. It is also a tale of cultural exchange. Enslaved Africans, indigenous peoples, European sailors, and runaway servants all interacted in the ports and pirate havens of the islands. Pirate crews were among the most ethnically diverse communities of their time, often operating under codes that allowed for shared plunder and, in some cases, rudimentary forms of democracy. In a world ruled by rigid class and racial hierarchies, the pirate ship offered a strange and temporary freedom, though one paid for in blood. Today, tourists sail through the same turquoise waters once haunted by cannon smoke and flying black flags. Cities like Havana, Cartagena, and San Juan still display massive stone fortifications built to repel pirates and rival navies. Museums house recovered treasure, and legends of hidden caches continue to lure modern adventurers with metal detectors and dreams of sudden wealth. The Caribbean remains a living archive of the age when gold and empire collided on the high seas. The great sea battle for the treasures of the Caribbean reminds us that history is rarely neat or peaceful. It was a world where nations fought for dominance, but individuals, pirates, privateers, and common sailors often shaped events as much as kings and admirals. Their daring raids, sudden alliances, and bloody confrontations redrew maps and enriched coffers, leaving behind stories that still glitter like coins in a diver's lamp. If this voyage into the stormy past captured your imagination, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more journeys into the hidden dramas of history. Which do you find more thrilling? The empire fleets laden with treasure, or the outlaws who dared to steal it all?